Well, hello and welcome to PM Express, and today the double track system. I think since the changing from O and A level to the JSS and the SS system, this is one of the next big revolution to hit our schooling system, and it is important that we get it right and understand it so that we move forward and importantly bring some quality into our schooling, because indeed this is big. The double track system, I haven't gotten my head quite around it yet. Run semesters, while some on vacations, others will be in school, and when they come back the others will be in school. Does it mean they're going to have two sets of teachers or the same teachers teaching both students who are in and out of school? Are we going to train a double the amount of teachers so that once Class A are on holiday, teachers A will also be on holiday, and then teachers B will come with Class B to start? It's a whole new thing. In any case, now SS is free, and therefore everybody wants and everybody should attend SS. However, we don't have the infrastructure to accommodate them all. How is the system going to work? Today is going to be really an education as to how it works, because I know it's an ongoing conversation and then the interrogation will begin, but we just need to understand, what do we mean by a double track system? Which other countries are running it, and why and how effective is it? My name is Nana Ansakwao, the fourth chief of the Little Republic of Akomodu-Masan. In fact, I need a bit more students to come into my JSS, so we don't need to have any double track system. But maybe in your case, it's different. Stay tuned. We are coming back to get a clearer understanding of what double track system schooling means. Well, thank you very much for staying with me. In studio is Kofi Asari, who's member of Ghana Education Campaign Coalition, and before I told him he must have his work cut out. Kofi, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And then I have on here our dear old friend, Mr. Michael Nsoa. He doesn't need any explanation at all. He's an educationist at heart and chairman of the GES Council. Mr. Michael Nsoa, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nana.
I think I will start with you with the education of the double track system. What does it mean and how does it work?
Thank you, Nana. The double track system has recommended, because it has not been final, but certainly it's going to come on board. This has happened because the numbers that are likely to qualify to go to secondary school is more than the number that we normally accommodate each year. And since this government has decided to open secondary education to as many people as possible, it will be unfair for people to pass or qualify only to be told that there's no place, which in the many years back was called pass no way. You have passed all right, but there's no place for you because the infrastructure or the facilities available cannot accommodate that number. So we decided to look around and see what best practices are used to in such a situation. And we looked at some countries, US, Asia, Australia, even in Africa, Kenya, and we realized that it is doable. So that is why we are putting in place this multi or double track system.
So how does it work? Let's take...
the double track is to have two sets of students or admissions that will take place this year. The first track will go to school. By the way, we are adopting the semester system also. So we are changing our trimester to semester to follow in line with what the universities are doing, the semester system. So one semester will take track one for the first semester. When they go on holidays, then track two students will go for their first semester. And likewise, when they also finish, then the track 1, who were on holidays during the semester of track 2, will come in, and so on and so forth. So that is.
How long will the semester be?
Semester is normally 16 weeks. Normally 16 weeks.
So you'll be on holiday for 16 weeks?
Yeah. As long as the semester lasts. We are still working out the timetable and the school terms.
Wow.
To make sure that, you see, it has to be worked out in such a way that within a certain number of weeks and within the number of hours per day, you should be able to cover the syllabus. As no, the syllabus hasn't changed. It's still the 3 years post-secondary syllabus. So you need to work out the number of hours that will be required, and then the number of weeks that will be required to complete the syllabus. So you segment it to first semester, second semester, going to second year, and so on.
Wow, what's the coalition saying about this, Kofi?
Well, the coalition is taken aback a bit because he only got to hear of this in the media when the minister was addressing headmasters in a brew or so. And we are still wondering why the ministry would like to keep civil society, even teacher unions, in the dark on such an important policy, especially when the coalition is represented on the Ministerial Advisory Board for a purpose. So if such an important issue, as you rightly mentioned, almost the next biggest issue after JHS, SHS, is managed this way and then packaged and then just thrown at you. Exactly. You know, it is said in development practice that participation is always critical to the success of a social policy. However, the lowest form of participation is information. And the highest and the most preferable form of participation is consultation. On this policy, we are being informed and not consulted. That is our problem.
So, briefly, is there any reason why, such a big information, will be sort of just thrown out there? Look, pick it up and fight, and let's see.
As I speak now, consultations are still going on. I know last week a group of, if you like, experts were consulted. They were brought from the universities, from many places. We had discussions with the minister. He briefed us on the situation on the ground and what they intend to do. We looked at it, went back and came to say that, well, it is something that, but you need to do ABCD to make sure that it works. I know the minister has also met the unions, teacher unions. He's met the teacher. He's met the faith, what do you call it? Educational units. All the educational units, the Christians and the Muslims or Islamic units. Right now, they've been to Kumasi. Another team was in Tamale over the weekend, just to coincide with the president's visit to the north. And so the consultations are still going on. They are here to do the southern sector of the country. The Kumasi one was for Bronga, Hafo, and Ashanti region headmasters.
Kofi, assuming you were informed earlier, what would be your position on the double track system? Before
the free senior high school policy was rolled out, we analyzed political party manifestos prior to the election, and then we issued a statement to the effect that free senior high school was important because in many countries, Africa, South America, the terminal point is at the secondary level. So the basic qualification of every citizen is secondary education. You enter class 1, the first external exams you write is at senior high school level. So it is desirable because at that point, you might have acquired that basic skills to enable you to enter the world of work. No contest about that. But we advise that Because of the 70 boarding and 30-day structure of our educational system, it is too expensive to run a free senior high school with that model, because you need about $1 billion a year. It will be too expensive, because if you go to all these countries I'm mentioning, you find that in most of these federal states, there's a province. Within the province, that's where you go to school. So you don't cross from Greater Accra region and go to school in Ashanti region. No. When there's a school in Medina and you live in Lamquantanai, your school is Presec. That's where you go to school. But we realize that in our case, everybody wants to be a border. So immediately you start feeding people, then the cost shoots up. So we said that let's sit down and then think through how to roll out this policy. We shouldn't be in a rush to do it in the first year just because the government has proposed to do it. And you heard the discussion around it. Let's sit down and plan so that we can look at other approaches, like, for instance, trying to place students in their local municipalities as day students in urban and peri-urban areas. If I'm in Medina and I'm placed and I'm living anywhere, I can go to Presec. If I'm in a Denta municipality and I'm living anywhere, I can go to WAS. If I'm in Chifupraso and I'm placed in Chufra Secondary School or Chifuhemai, okay, if I'm close, I can be a day student. If I'm further, 20 kilometers further, I can be a border. You would have ended up, because every district has a school. Averagely, most districts have 2, 3, 4 schools, but every district at least has a school. So if we took time to look through this, we could have devised a strategy where we can have day students, more day students than borders. But we say we live in Accra here, and you go to Accra Academy, you go to Labone Secondary School, and then you find that people who are living in Accra are all borders, and then we are paying for them. You can't roll out a free senior high school on that premise. We are not that rich to do that, and even if we were that rich, it was amount to waste of money. And we also found out that in most of these countries, like Kenya has been piloting their thing for about 9 years now. The Kenya shift system, the full one to be rolled out from next year. They've piloted it for a long time. Started with day schools. Okay, so in most countries they have a system where if you're a day student and you want to go to school in the municipality, you go free. But we have some priority schools that if you want to go as a matter of choice, as a border, you pay. Those may be attended by the elites. However, you don't compromise on the quality of education in that school at Chifupraso. You give them the same quality of teachers, same quality of supervision, same quality of inputs, so that students there can perform well just as they can perform in Achimota. So there are various options, but the approach to the whole thing did not give us opportunity to look at these options. That is why it has become quite problematic for us. It is very expensive because you can't do a free senior high school, a lower middle income country, and then pay such money.
Before I bring Mr. Nsoa in, it's believed that our crisscross, me going to school in Akwatia, going to school in Tamale, has brought this harmony that Ghana experiences other than most countries, where Muslims, Christians are able to cohabit with no qualms whatever. If we start staying in our own district, in our own zones, in 20 years' time, are we going to build up people who don't trust each other? Hey, this guy is from the south and I don't trust him. He's from east and I don't trust him. Could it, generate that?
I don't think so. In the sense that we have mixed from independence and we are still mixed. I'll use Medina example again. Medina, because that's where I was born. In Medina, we have a big Ewe community. There's a big Zongo. There's a big Ga community. You understand? We have mixed. So you don't need to go to school in Dangbe, in Somenya, to engage the Dangbe.
But maybe Wa may not be as mixed as Lima.
Where?
I mean, somewhere far away may not be.
If you go to Wa, they speak more Tree than their language. They even do in you realize that they speak more Tree, even in Tamale. So, you see, we are mixed already. You see, the cost effectiveness,
it won't cause a problem.
We have to look at it. You see, there may be some districts without 2 senior high schools. But every district at least has 1 senior high school. If we approach it, then let's make sure that every district has at least 2 schools, so that those who are near the school can be day students, and those who are further can be boarders. And in the peri-urban and in the urban areas, in Cape Coast, for instance, just 2 schools can serve the whole of the Cape Coast municipality. Everybody will be a day student. And if I say everybody would be a day student, just 2 schools, I mean, if we are using National and Augustins, the meaning is that all dormitories in National will become classrooms. So they were taking 1,000, they'll take 4,000. But there's a girls and a boys' school, a boys' dormitory. And if you come to Augustins too, if you are using those 2 schools as they, all dormitories there will be classrooms. So it'll take more. So you need only 2 schools in that municipality to absorb all the intake from the Cape Coast municipality. All other schools there can remain the priority schools that I mentioned. So if you want your child to go there, you pay. That's it. When we did free basic education, we didn't say that if you take your child to a private school, government will pay the 3 cedis or 4 cedis 50% capitation grant for you. No. We say these schools are the ones that the free education is going to take place in basic school. If you take your child there, it is free. If you don't, it's not free. Secondary education is very expensive. And so we need to be sure that this is
Kofi not making a point there?
Well, it's making a point, but we also need to the intervention you made is very important. Ghana has been a peaceful country because of many years of this mixture of groups in schools from the early days up till now. You know, when you go to the school, you don't even know where people come from, and that has helped us, and we think it is something that we need to continue. Well, at least for now, we're still grappling with. He was using Cape Coast as an example. You need to know the schools that are in Cape Coast. You have a good number of schools in Cape Coast. There's no doubt about it. How many of these children can fill all the spaces in the Cape Coast? Because there are so many schools in Cape Coast, and if you look at the JHS in Cape Coast municipality, certainly they will not be able to fill this. So there will be people who have to come from outside to be able to fill. In fact, currently, even people in Cape Coast, because of the cut-off point, cannot. Now we are introducing something that every student will have to select a compulsory day school or become day in the vicinity or community where he or she lives. We will start the admissions with day schools. Headmasters will be required to fill the day component or percentage before we think, and the boarders would definitely have to come from outside. So it will allow, before now, where children from Cape Coast, even with all the elite schools in Cape Coast, did not have access, they are going to fill those places first before we consider. So we are doing everything to sort of bring equity in the system, because if we are not careful, we'll continue to, prepare people, and the people will continue to be marginalized.
What if Cape Coast could set up a margin which the average Cape Coast JSS student is unable to attain that mark? Do you still have to?
Like we said, anybody who qualifies by the criteria that has been set, will have to go to school. Once you qualify, that is, you pass, then we have to find a place for you.
And this issue of making boarding free, even in the UK, with all their might and money, if you want to go to boarding school, then it's your palaver. I mean, but then they have the resources.
Yeah, but you see, there's another thing that we need to understand. If we agree that secondary education is the basic level of education that everybody should have, then it is incumbent on the nation to make sure that this is realized. Now, for over 60 years now, certain parts of the country have enjoyed this free, even when their parents can afford, they continue to enjoy. Now, currently, you cannot say the North is poorer than even parts of Central region, because Central region There are parts of Central where people have to sell their children for a pittance, 25 cedis, before they can survive. So you need to look at all this and say that, look, at least for now, let us make sure that the opportunities are there. If you get a chance to go to boarding, fine. Maybe as we move on, as we go on, we'll have to look at those parents, and I mean parents, whether you're from the north or from the south, you will need to look at this, because if you give forms to people to fill, I'm not sure you will get the right responses that, you know, a parent who is capable of paying in the north or south will be able to give you the. So we need to do all this study before we want to break that.
Chairman, if you see, anytime the day approach to secondary education, universal secondary education is raised, people, I mean, with good intentions, people quickly raise the issue of cultural mix. I think that the issue of cultural mix.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That issue is
overflowed.
Is totally being overhyped. Let me explain this.
Okay.
In the past 30 years, in the past 18 years, the transition rate, including the time Chairman was there, Director General JS, the transition rate from junior high school to senior high school was below 40%. Okay? Which meant that about 60% of students could not transit into the secondary school.
Yeah, because facilities were not available.
I'm coming. Yes. Thank you for understanding me. Now, it meant that out of 1 million, for example, that entered primary school, only 400,000 could go to secondary school. But they entered primary school and enrolled in their local areas. So it means that a bigger chunk of the youth actually experienced education within their local community because they couldn't transit into secondary school to go and mix. Why are we enjoying the harmony? Do you understand? I think that issue is always being overhyped.
But is it something that we may pay a price later?
We won't pay the price because we are mixing already.
No,
you find Christians in every Muslim community in Ghana here.
Nana, I don't think it's being overhyped, because it's the same people who become politicians and, you know, people in the government, so to speak. And these are people who have already mixed and therefore see themselves that together we should build Ghana. And they are doing that. Yeah. And that is also impacting on their, if I should use the word, less privileged brothers and sisters. So they are setting the way because of the experience they've gained in this multicultural environment so that they will not create a situation where it will dawn on them that some of the people have been left out in the development of this nation, and therefore they will have to, you know, rise up and then fight. So
going back to semester business, would there be 2 sets of teachers so that when set A is on holiday, they are on holiday with their teachers, and then set B?
I think the president mentioned about a fortnight ago in a Cropon that there will be additional 8,000 teachers. This calculation is based on the fact that currently we have teachers already there. Now, if you take one school, that takes in 1,000 cities, 1,000 students in a year. If we divided the 1,000 to 2, so 500 will be at 500. Now, the number of teachers who will be in the track 1 will have to be selected, because not say if you have 4 teachers in a department and half of that number is coming for track 1, definitely there will be extra teachers who will not have the adequate load and therefore will be programmed for the second track. Now, where there's a deficit, and this work is being done now, all heads of schools, secondary school, are being asked to now do this calculation so that it will inform. But on our own calculation, we estimate about 8,000. And of course, it's just 8,000 a figure. We need now to go into details about how many maths teachers will you need, how many geography, and so on and so forth. And therefore, there will certainly be an additional teachers that will have to complement so that they'll be able to run track 1 with track 1 teachers, track 2 with track 2 teachers. Yeah.
So let me stay with you. Are we not trying to make my analogy that was, are we trying to perfect a square football where we are sharpening the edges and making it square and flat, even though it will become useless? I mean, 500,000 students, and we are pushing them all into this clerical and administrative mindset. You don't hear the skill set being able to do anything with their hands. We are now going to double shift and even make them more clerical, and they come out and...
No, that is not correct. If you look at the forms now, and over the last 1 year, so much attention is now being paid to technical and vocational education, to the extent that that is going to be linked from the general education GES to set on its own as another agency with the same status as GED, general education, so that more attention is now being paid to technical and vocational education. And now it has been realized that many of the vocations can be found in agriculture, agric, health, so that all these things will now be part of the big drive to promote technical and vocational education.
So there will be like a whole ministry or whole sector, department?
A whole agency under the Ministry of Education, but technical vocational education, where the decisions are taken rather than the general education.
And that's going on now?
Now. Very soon, a new Director General will be appointed to head the Technical Education Agency.
And would it be on paper, or there's going to be
No, actually, we have a Deputy Minister in charge of technical education.
No, and because on paper is fine, but if I went to school to do metal works or bakery or needle work, would I find a machine, needles, bending machines?
You see, technical vocational education is capital intensive. You don't spread your energies across every school. Some people will say, why don't you have departments? It will be even more expensive. You need to isolate, or you need to identify areas. For instance, there will be one technical center in every region. In addition to technical vocational institutions that will be found in the regions, and therefore will have to, where there's need for training, then they will have to go to this well-resourced technical training center in every region. So that is being worked on. Fortunately, there's support from some developing countries like Germany, China, even Austria. They are all coming to help. So
I'll take a quick break, because when you say region,
that attention is going
not district, but region.
No, but that's why I said, look, you see, if we want to put technical centers in all the districts, it might be expensive. But you can have technical institutions, technical vocational institutions in every district. But you need a center that will mentor all these, so that whatever training that they require, they can easily get to the region to do it.
I'm going to take a quick break.
But you can't have it in every district.
Well, I'm going to take a quick break. But Edumasina is in the eastern region. So is Oyarifa and Ebri also in the eastern region. So you wonder, where would they place this center so that my children from Edumasina and the children from Ebri would be able to access this center? And would it be once a week? Once? I mean, where? We're coming straight back.
Yes, okay.
Well, thank you very much. On certain shows, the show never ends. We are still on and talking, but let me, I think, come to Kofi Asare and then go back to Kofi. Anytime I get opportunity to speak to, children, and I get invited a lot, one thing I always encourage them is that learn a skill, learn to do something with your hands. Even if you want to be a lawyer, be able to repair an air conditioning, put a table together, something, learn a skill. And most nations that have developed was because there were a lot of skilled labor. But here we are within Eastern region, you have one technical center. There's me in Edumasa. Don't have a school bus. And I would have to access somewhere within Eastern region my kids would also have to come to this center to learn how to bend.
No, I think what Chema was saying was that they are model centers. Currently, there are over 30, almost 40 schools under GES, technical schools, okay, like ATTC. Okay, if you go to every region, you have some there. Not SETEX, but technical institutes. Kumasi Technical Institute, Cape Coast, Takrade. There are about over almost 40 schools under the GES that are very well equipped. So most of them are model centers like KTI, Kumasi Technical Institute, Accra, ATTC, and all that. Okay. But he is talking about new ones that are going to be built. Okay.
Or even absorb.
Exactly, because not all schools have what is available at Cape Tech.
Yeah.
You understand? Or at Swansea. So there are other model ones that African Development Bank supported to build, Bodagatanga, Technical Institute, Kobe Asante, and other ones. Some of them are not under GES, but most of them are under GES. So I think the issue is that let's try and make sure that every region has that model, so that in districts that do not have the semblance of Cape Tech, you can go there and then also have that.
I guess then I have to log you for Ajina Secondary Technical because it's next time. So then I have to log you for Ajina Secondary Technical that is fully equipped.
But I think the TVET issue is something that government has taken it quite serious. I was in a meeting last week with the guidance and counseling unit, and I was happy to learn that because I made a point that listen, last year we placed about 420,000 students. But only 360 actually went to school. The thing is free. You place about 400,000, and only 360 enrolled. About 40,000 did not enroll or more. And one of the reasons that I found out was that people were sent to technical schools because I helped a lot of people to do the admission online. Those people who came very late, the grades were not that good. After the third week, I realized that in Water Region, I come through all the schools, and all the remaining schools were day-only schools, day with hostel and technical schools. So I was able to get Komboni for one of the ladies, and one to also the Harvest Tech. The point I want to make is that they did not want to do technical, okay? But then I encouraged the mother. The mother works for me. I encouraged her that it's better to get something doing than to stay home because the grades are not good. So try and then get an interest in whatever you want to go and do there and then take advantage of it. Fact is, the youth are not interested in TVET, and so there must be some interest by the guidance and counseling unit and then the TVET division of GES to do more counseling at the basic school level so that the students can wake up and say, I want to be a mechanical engineer. I want to be a fashion designer. I want to be an auto mechanic. Okay, and not always say I want to be a doctor. That function, that thing will not happen unless there is some guidance, career guidance taking place at the basic school level. And so I was happy to learn that the guidance and counseling units and then the TVET division under the GES were working together to roll out a program that will imbibe TVET as a career choice in the work of the guidance and counseling. Because the TVET issue will not be an overnight issue because we've had decades of misconceptions about TVET. That TVET is second fiddle. That misconception will not die down in 2 years. It won't.
So God bless his soul, Mr. Akwa Harrison was talking about TVET, and he said that because they couldn't build workshops for every school, what they were going to do was partner with local. So if like there was a bakery in the town, you go and train that baker to do things properly so that kids from the school or students could go there,
practicals there,
and go do practicals there. If there was a mechanic there, you made sure that he was complying to certain things so that the teacher could go to that mechanic shop. And those were real hands-on, the grease and the dirt and how things were. So they learned rather than building factories, bakeries, sewing machines, so that the kids could go to the local. In that case, you know, if it was one region, you couldn't travel all the way to this center, but maybe within Atimpoku, you could find a mechanic shop where you do practicals, a baker where you do practicals. So I don't know if it's still...
You see, these are things that need to happen over time, like he's saying. People need to believe in that kind of profession. That is the first point. Now, all that you are saying are part of the program that are going to be rolled out. I know in Tamale, there's a technical school. People even don't know the name.
TTI?
No, it's a technical school. Headed by a lady.
Yeah. Okay.
They produce bread for some of the schools. They do this catering, cakes and catering for some of the hotels. You can see that this is a school that is trying to build that sort of interest in the children, and the children are happy. They are sending their products or their produce to these hotels, and when they finish, they will continue to serve other small shops and so on. So that is the approach that is being adopted, so that more future generation will develop interest. But you know, when we introduce the JSS, and they say, oh, we want to revolutionize our curriculum and introduce more technology. Children were carrying all this equipment to school. But you see, at the point, people were saying that, those who completed and were apprenticed to say carpenters, all the things that they were producing, for instance, in a small community, if you produce one set of furniture, how many months will it take for anybody to buy one? So it wasn't, people say, but if you say I should go into the world of work, and now I cannot even with my master get people to buy, the things that we produce. They were losing interest. So they need to start from somewhere. Now, some are in big furniture making, and they are making money.
Well, they do make a lot of money. Let me put this number down and see what public sentiments are. Imagine you have, 3 kids and they are running shifts. When this one is in school, the other one is, on holiday. And sometimes you need to plan your working, your leave, so that, you take a leave when they're on holiday so you can look after them. But this time, when 2 are in school, the other one is on holiday, how are you going to plan it? 0302 211 691 or 692, 0302 211 691 692. Let me hear what your sentiments are on the 2-track system, and also making sure that those who can work, have a skill, are not necessarily second-class citizens. And I always say here, Kofi, that some guys came to paint the palace. I mean, there were like 7 of them. They stayed about 4 days, and the thousands they charged me and left. I wish I could paint. I mean, they charged me good money and they left. And when the taxing issue came, I said, it's tax-free. I just cannot come. And so, I don't think it's so evil to, know how to paint and collect so much money. But here we are.
It will take some time before we get there, because in Europe and other places, UK, where I'm very from, if you call a plumber, he comes to assess the work and gives you a provisional charge. If you are ready, they bring it, and by the time you return from work, everything is done.
On the TVET issue, last year, society raised an issue with the fact that schools under MVTI, schools under the Ministry of Manpower, there are most of the TVET schools are under the Ministry of Manpower.
Yeah.
Okay. So schools under the Ministry of Manpower were not included under the free senior school policy. It was restricted to only schools under the GES. Wow. So we raised issue because the higher numbers were at the MVTI's training centers and some of the ISS centers and all that. So I want to know whether this time around, because the demand for TVET from that side is higher than the GES.
And it's not included.
Have we added them in the free senior school now?
Well, all those technical vocational schools that are well established have all been added onto the list.
Those that were not, those that are not under the genius.
Yes,
Okay.
some of them, not all.
Okay.
Because sometimes you go to find out the kind of courses they are running is not in sync with the secondary level course, because we are talking about second level.
P2.
So let me take a call from Goso, and I have Newman. Hello, Newman.
Yes.
Let me hear your take on this issue.
Please, I would like to thank you for the opportunity. Yes.
Yes,
I said I want to thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Please, about this double-track SHS system, some of us think that we think that if the government should liaise with these private institutions, they've already put up the schools and they have the structures. Some of them are willing to even partner government, so that if you have, they have all those structures already, like how the health insurance system is working.
Okay,
we already have government institutions.
Because of timing, I'll make it snappy, but that's a good one.
Yes, okay. I'm saying that basically because the private schools we have private schools there who are willing to partner. So those people should
instead of two-track system, let's go to the private schools. Okay, let me go to Thomas in Bolga. Hello, Thomas. Thomas, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, let me hear you.
Okay. Good evening to your listeners.
Very well.
My contribution is that it is not just the whole system is good, because we want all the children to go to school. Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, we want all the children to go to school, but it's a new policy, and so it might not go down with some people, but it will come to stay. The problem with training is that when senior high school was introduced in the 70s, the equipment we were sent to the schools were sold by teachers. So the equipment for them to learn wasn't there. Now, if you want to bring this new track system and because of the numbers, definitely the quality will going to come down.
Okay, let me go to Hashmin in Tamale. 03022111. Hashmin in Tamale.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi.
Good evening to your viewers.
Great.
Yeah, I would just like to get some understanding about. Hello?
Yes, speak up a bit for me.
Yeah, I was asking. I just want to get some information about how they are going to write the exam. Because if the first, let's take the stream A. Let's take the stream A. If they go in for 40 days and go to the house and stream B comes for 40 days, then stream A comes back for 40 days, and then stream B comes back for 40 days.
Okay, how the exams, is it going to be the same paper or different paper? Let me go to Abraham from Upper East. Hello, Abraham.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Please, I just want to share my idea on the double track SHS that is going to be rolled out in September this year. I think what the government is doing is probably good because they are trying to improvise ways to make sure that all the students who are qualified to go to senior high are captured. But what I've seen little problem is that the quality will not be there. And mostly when the people are at home, they will not be engaged with their books. So probably I will think that they should really partner up with the private institutions so that they will be able to capture those who are qualified.
That's another private one there. I think I'll put these questions to Mr. Nsoa. If I have no more calls, let me go straight to Mr. Nsoa. Are there private schools that are empty? So like the the NHIS system, are they going to absorb some of these kids?
To begin, whether we like it or some of the children will go to private schools because some parents who still prefer private schools. Secondly, those private schools that want to partner with us this year were able to, absorb 22.
Okay.
Now, the other private school, we are still talking, because if, even after, paying for the petty fees for the children, the school is going to also levy or demand some little school fee. They can call it little, but however little, it will still deny some people, some children, from going to school.
So would that then become an option to say, well, there's private school, if you can top up, you're going there?
No, as for that, it's a choice. Parents have a choice. They decide they want their children to go to private school.
No, we're talking about the schools.
There are some, of course, who, when they don't get admission to the mainstream public schools, then they struggle to go to the private schools. Yes, but it is there. We are trying to partner the private schools. But when it comes to where the private school is going to levy, yes, they need to levy some little money. But if some children or some parents cannot afford, then those children will still be left out of the system.
Who makes this decision? Who makes this decision? Assuming I have Ansakwa private SSS, and I'm going to charge maybe 60 cedis for every student who comes, because government is paying for the rest. Now, who then decides that, Kofi, you have to go to Ansakwa's private school and pay the 60 cedis, but Mr. Nsowa, you go to Achimota for free?
No, that's why they do selection. You select the school you want to go.
There are schools currently in the first, the batch. There are schools that are day with hostel. You know the meaning of that? It's a day school, but the hostel belongs to a private person. So if you are posted there, you pay the hostel fee. So when we went, I realized that they were paying 250 cedis a term for hostel fee. The hostel belongs to a private person.
Yeah, I agree.
But the school is a day school. So if you are posted there, it comes with a cost, because that school hasn't got.
No, see,
it's similar to what you're saying.
No, if I'm posted there, assuming I could have stayed with my aunt and go there for free. But I'm talking about, you post me to an institution where I have to pay for tuition, because the tuition, quote unquote, free SHS is free. So why do you send me to a school where I have to top up tuition?
As for sending, we don't. You select.
So you will choose. So you know that this school I'm choosing, I'll have to top up.
For instance, I told you we were able to absorb 22, which were virtually handed over to the government to run.
So they agreed.
Yes.
Their fees syncs with the government fees.
Yes. No, they more or less handed over the management of the school to the DA.
Okay.
So that makes it easier. So they are all on the list. So you select. Now, at the end of it all, I'm sure, yes, this is what normally happens when you don't find admission. But this time, we want to make sure everybody will find a place. This time, I want to make sure everybody finds a place. And that's
so how many more schools do we need to run a one-track system? Because otherwise, we'll be stuck with two-track.
That's a good question. It is not every school that will run the double track. Because there are schools in certain areas where the population that are going to feed the school are not enough. So there's no need to run the double track system.
So we are told the grade C schools, the grade A.
Well, maybe not even all the grade C schools.
Okay.
Depending on where, you see, there are schools in certain areas where there are a number of catchment, a number of schools within
like
the catchment area.
3 different exams.
No.
Yeah, because
it is the same standard. People, I think two callers were talking about quality issue. Now the quality is based on the teachers and the learning material that we supply. Now the teachers, everybody that qualifies to teach in our school is a graduate.
I've only got 1 minute. Let me see if I can get this. Imagine Kofi and I are attending school A and we are running a track system. So I do semester 1, you are doing semester 2. So after semester 1,
no, you are batch 1 and batch 2.
Yeah, batch 1, batch 2. So if are we going to write the same papers? I come and tell you, oh, Charlie, Kofi going to go see, alligator, because alligator is what a gamma lizard is what came.
They write the same WASI.
They write the same,
but not the same test.
You read the same.
Because we have different teachers.
Yes.
So definitely not the same.
It's like you are attending different schools. You are attending different schools, but you are following the same curriculum.
Well, I told you it's just the beginning, and I'm sure there will be more questions to come. But hey, at the end of the day, we need to get the quality into education. It's imperative, it's dire. We can't do anything about it. Mr. Soa and Kofi, thank you so much. It's been an education, it's been an eye-opener, and it's been a conversation. To you at home, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you.